Oh yeah, let's begin the show. Let's start this thing by singing some bullshit. Let's get on with the podcast thing. Yeah.
Beginning ODO podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ODO podcast, where normal is not my specialty. If you are new to the show, thank you for joining me. And here's what I was about to say we, because, just naturally we say we, but here's what I do. I share my twisted little stories and what's nots and rants and rambles and take it wherever the hell my train of thought goes. And then we take a little break to spread some love for my podcast friends. We make fun of some weird news stories. We call out a Jackass of the week. And I wrap it all up with a featured podcast that I think you need to check out, because I just like sharing the things that I like. What can I say? That's just me. Woo! How are you doing? I'm late. That's how I'm doing. But see, this week technically speaking, you can just say it's all my damn fault. But realistically, there's just a lot of crap going on. If you can't tell from my voice, for those of you who do listen outside of America, I'm in America. What can I say? And what happened? The biggest sporting event of the year. Every year, for those people who give two shits about sports, and I don't, but I live with a Texan, so it's that. Of course, I'm talking about the Super Bowl. And technically speaking, did you know you're not legally allowed to say Super Bowl? Yeah, no bullshit. Anytime you hear somebody on the radio talk about it, unless they are actually, the only time you're allowed to say the word Super Bowl, and I'm gonna keep saying it because the NFL is not listening to me. Apparently you can't, because it's like a trademarked, copyrighted term and all this stuff. It's like they can't run contests saying, oh, it's our Super Bowl contest, or they can't do any of that shit. They have to make up other stuff. If they say it if they use the word Super Bowl anywhere outside of direct context in relation to promoting the actual game, they can get in trouble. And that's really, listen anytime, listen on the radio or anything, that every time they do a Super Bowl contest, they give it some really stupid name because they can't actually call it the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl contest. Anyway, that all being said, yes, this past Sunday was the Super Bowl. And again, my wife is from Texas. And if you know anything about Texas, football is a religion in Texas. So I may not give two shits about sports in a very general way, but we're going to watch the Super Bowl for no other reason than it's football. And the funny thing is, my wife doesn't really care for the Eagles. She really doesn't like the Patriots. She had no reason to care about this game, except maybe just a general hatred of Tom Brady. But overall, it's just she didn't give a shit. And she cared even less when she found out the Patriots were in, because especially after all of the Deflategate and all that shit before. And, I'm not going to get into the, legendary history of the Patriots organization and cheating. But it's a shady football team organization anyway. But yeah, my boys love football because of my wife, because especially in the past when I would be working on weekends, they would be watching football on Sundays while I'm at work. Especially when I was in the restaurant game, when I was slinging wings for a living. And when you work in the wing business and there's football on, you're busy. That's it. Wings, football. It's kind of the thing. And so, yeah, I was always working during football games. She was always showing the boys football games. So my boys all love football. Again, I don't give a shit. Not a sports person. I'm a general purpose nerd. Sports don't fall into the umbrella of general purpose nerddom. All that being said, because it was the Super Bowl. And because my wife is such a big football fan, well, my sister's also a really big football fan. Unfortunately, my wife is a Cowboys fan, so, it's even though I don't like football, we're really close to disowning her over that. That's just cause, fucking Cowboys. But yeah, I mean, my wife is a native Texan who's a Raiders fan, so, explain that shit. Anyway, my wife and my sister get together and they decide, hey, what if you come on over for the game? So my sister, we basically have my sister and her little kids are going to come over and they're going to bring big pot of chili and stuff. And we're going to kind of have our little mini Super Bowl party. I'm like, all right. And I'm not even because I don't want, it's I really like when my sister comes over, but it basically means now that my sister's over, we're formally entertaining, which means while they're watching the game, I can't check out. Everybody's watching the game. I'm not allowed to check out on this. I basically have to be present. Whereas I could have been I could have been sitting here at my desk working on all of this for you lovely people. I had to sit there watching football game. And I'm not going to say I don't enjoy the experience of watching the game with my wife and sister. It's more of watching them get really excited about shit. And I don't hate football. I just don't really care. I'm not invested in sports. And I appreciate the Super Bowl for the commercials and stuff. And I got really excited when I saw the fucking Cloverfield commercial because I love the Cloverfield series. And when I found out, oh yeah, it's going to stream halfway through the game, I found out, oh yeah, it's going to be on after the game's over. Holy shit. I was going to stay up late and watch it, but I watched it Monday morning because, and I know you're going to say, well, you could have been doing all this stuff then. No, I'm sorry. I committed to watching that movie. And people hate it. I liked the movie. Yes, it had flaws, but I liked Cloverfield Paradox. And anybody who says otherwise can kiss my ass because I liked it. And I loved the original Cloverfield movie when I saw it the first time. Whereas most people who say they like it are now that it's almost got a cult sci-fi following. Most people when that movie came out hated it. No, and now people are oh, it's such a great movie. And then the second one came out and people are oh, it's such a great movie. And as they're saying, oh, the first was a great movie. Y'all hated it. Y'all fucking hated that movie. And then they stuck John Goodman in the second one. And they're oh, it's like an anthology thing. It's completely different. And people are suddenly liking the first movie. It's look, motherfucker, you hated the first movie. You hated that you didn't see the Monster Bunch. You hated all this shit. So stop bandwagoning. But I liked the movies. I enjoyed this one. I fucking loved the ending. Yes, plot holes galore. It's a sci-fi movie. That's just what sci-fi movies do. Anyway, back on to Sunday. Yeah, it was just, so now that my sister is coming over, rewinding, my sister's coming over for the game. So it turned into, we've got to clean house. And oh yeah, I work Saturdays. So, and again, first Saturday of the month, I'm out of town. I work out of town first Saturday of the month. And which by now, if you've listened for a while, you've probably picked up on. But yeah, I've my main workload on that Saturday is out of town. So I'm up early. I'm out on the road early and I get back late that night. I get back or dinner time, whatever. And so I can't do anything as far as helping in the house on Saturday. The boys basically it's Saturday's cleaning day around the house. But the boys are now we have company coming. The house has to be extra special clean. And so they're doing all that, which of course, house full of little boys. By Sunday morning, the house is destroyed again. It's just little boys. House is trashed by Sunday morning. All with hey, my sister, Auntie's going to be here at 3 so we can watch the game. The house has to be spotless when she gets here. And, oh yeah, like I said, I'd been putting off a lot of chores and things that I needed to do. It's been not winter here. And I think I've said it before. We've had a non-winter, which means my summer is going to be evil. You would rather go to hell. It'll be cooler this summer, I know, because for the last 2 weeks, it's been in the 80s. Like upper 70s to 80 degrees in the Phoenix metro area out here. It's been warm. Some would even say it's been hot out. It's cold at night. I still need a jacket when I go to work at night. But during the day, the boys are in shorts. Really, you could go swimming right now, and it's middle of fucking February. So, all that being said, my yard got really overgrown because I told you the last time I mowed the yard, and it was almost a month ago. And it was worse this time, because now it was warm for all this whole stretch, and thick, and dense. And it wasn't like winter growth, it was just growth. And so, I had to go and mow the yard before the damn HOA came along and ticketed me, which is usually why I end up having to mow it at that point. But yeah, I had to come along and mow the yard, and my sister's coming over, so I gotta make sure the house looks nice. Well, I have to get up extra fucking early on Sunday to make sure I can get the yard mowed. And because I've been putting it off, I had to edge everything and make it all look super nice, which means it takes me like 2 hours to mow my damn front yard, making it look all nice and pretty. And then we still had like other grocery stuff we had to go buy, because when we did our grocery shop on Saturday, we didn't do it with Super Bowl entertaining in mind. That's just not how we shopped it. So on top of all the yard work and the grocery shopping that we've got to do, and try and go to a grocery store on Super Bowl Sunday, and you might as well go in full football pads because it's a madhouse. But yeah, all that. And I had to, and it sounds like a dumb, why is this connected? I had to clean the fish tank. And by I had to clean the fish tank, I mean, I think I mentioned somewhere along the line that basically of the like we had 5 fish. We're down to 2. They just started dropping like quick. And so, I'm down to 2, and one of them is our algae eater, who's a monster of a thing, who up until the last other fish had died, did a bang up job keeping that tank clean. Now, that fucker doesn't do shit. He just like, nope, I'm on strike. Everybody else in this tank is dying. I'm going to stay here hiding in this little tree stump thing. I'm not going to do shit. So suddenly my fish tank, which I've never had to actually scrub the glass on, was getting all mildewy and cruddy. And I was like, what the fuck? How is this tank cleaner when there were 5 fish than there is now when there's 2? But whatever. Now I actually have to go in and change everything and clean the fish tank because it's starting to look like it might poison the fish. So like Finding Nemo is where I was getting, you know? Yeah. I need the Aqua Scum 2000 or whatever the fuck it was. But yeah, I had to go in and clean the fish tank. And I was like deep, heavy scrubbing, clean, take all the shit out, scrub all the shit out of the fish tank, you know, vacuum all the rocks, do the whole fish tank deep scrubby who's or what's thing. And if you've ever had to deep clean a fish tank, bleh. So, yeah, I had to do all that crap. And this is like, it took me a couple hours to actually clean this fucking fish tank, which when we're dealing on a sister coming over at 3, grocery shopping, yard work, kids need naps, all these things, ultimately, and we had food to cook, we're in a very limited time. Plus dishes and just general house cleaning and all of this. So, obviously, coming off of work Saturday, crazy yard work, fish tank, shopping, housework, I am dead tired. I have like no sleep. I'm just like, fuck, I'm dying. And the whole time I've been kind of sick, you know, and I think all over the country, everybody I'm seeing, like podcaster friends on the East Coast and the Midwest and California and everywhere, everyone's getting this crud, this like nasty flu, and it's like you get this really ugly flu for like a couple of days, it's really heavy, and then you get this cough that won't go away for weeks and weeks and weeks. And in my case, a cough that doesn't go away for weeks and weeks and weeks, I just dealt with that shit. It sucks. I don't want that again. Well, I've had that. It wasn't nearly as bad as the last time. But no, I'm barely now getting through it. I went from a point of it's a dry cough and now it's at least productive, and I'm feeling like somewhat, I'd rather be congested and coughing up crud than the dry chest cough, I guess. But yeah, that's just me. I'm generally congested, so all the time. So yeah, I'd rather be that at least. But yeah, it was a rough day for me from that perspective. And we were even thinking about, hey, maybe we should tell her not to come over because I was so rough. I was like, all the coughing and all this. And I think we doped me up on, I think I was on like Robitussin cough syrup and Aleve because of the body pains from all the yard work and just being generally achy, and Benadryl because we thought maybe it was just allergies, especially being out in the yard and all that stuff. Like, oh, maybe allergies acting up, which I don't really have allergies so much like that, at least that I'm aware of. But, whatever. So I'm all doped up on meds, and I tell my wife, like, okay, with all of this, if I fall asleep during the game, it's not my fault. You can't blame me if I fall asleep during the game. And I'm going completely on the meds, and she's thinking that, it's like, oh, because anytime I stop and sit down, I fall asleep. It's like, cause I don't fucking sleep. But yeah, I was just like, no, I'm heavily medicated. So it was entirely a possibility that I could just fall asleep right now. But no, party goes on. My sister comes over. She brings a great big thing of chili. We've got, the barbecue smokies and making hot dogs and stuff for all the kids and lots of chips and dips and all that shit because it's a Super Bowl party and you do all that stuff. So we're doing all that. And of course, because I don't give two shits about football in a general way, I'm basically I'm Jeeves. Everybody's sitting down. I'm like serving all the kids. I'm getting like, my sister and my wife are sitting there, and I'm basically serving them, like bringing chips and like, oh, what do you want? And I'm getting all the shit. And I'm basically like, whereas I could have gone and sat down at the computer. I probably could have done this entire show Sunday during the Super Bowl, minus the fact that, my space here isn't soundproof, and my sister and my wife cheering or yelling or laughing, God, because they're mean. Anytime something bad happened to the Patriots, they'd straight up laugh because they're kind of bitches that way. But yeah, somebody trips like, oh, he fumbled. Ha ha. Yeah, they're kind of bitches that way when it came to the Patriots. But I straight up told him, like, it's one thing to cheer against the Patriots. It's another thing entirely to laugh at them and enjoy their misfortune. But yeah, it was just, so much. And it was like, fuck, okay, I'm here. Let's watch some commercials. Let's watch Justin Timberlake in a really kind of blah halftime show. And I'm going to straight up say, and it's like, and I've watched the Super Bowl. I've watched a ton of Super Bowls. I'm going to say it. This is probably the year where you could say the game was better than the entertainment for the game. Because so many times, like Super Bowls and for so many years have always been so blowout. Like, oh, it's completely one-sided, and it's like 50-something to 7. Like, it's just complete blowout. Like, yeah, we gave them a pity touchdown. What of it? Shit like that, where people check out halfway through the game kind of stuff. It's happened so many years. And again, being in the restaurant, being in the football food service industry, basically, selling wings. Like, I've experienced so many Super Bowls that people were just like, halftime people check out. Because they're like, yeah, the game's crap. It's just completely one-sided. We're not watching it. This was a good game. There was actually, back and forth and good, play on both sides of it to where the game was entertaining. And the halftime show was kind of blah. It was kind of a not great thing for a halftime show. I think Justin Timberlake could have done a better job. My wife and my sister got all pissed off because at the Pink singing the national anthem And they're like, did she just spit her gum out on the field? And they're freaking the fuck out. It's like, she just spat her gum out on the field. And then like next day you find out, oh yeah, it was a cough drop. Why? Cause she had the flu. Why? Cause everybody has the flu. Because as Pink posted on like her Instagram or Twitter or something, it was like, because she has 2 little petri dishes that bring everything home and get everybody sick. But yeah, and I've got 4 of them. So yay. But yeah, it's like she had a cough drop. She spit her cough drop out right before she started singing because she was sick. But yeah, they're so funny. Listening to and watching my sister and my wife during the Super Bowl. Funny shit. Meanwhile, I like when I finally got a chance to sit down, I'm like, oh, I'm going to curl up over here and yeah. Pay no attention to the dead guy in the corner of the couch. But yeah, I mean, it was an enjoyable time. It was mostly just like having my sister and her kids over and boys running around and all it. And God, fucking football is long. It's like a fucking 5-hour long game or so, whatever the fuck it is. Like, God, that fuck. And Super Bowl's worse. But, you know, jeez, I think that's why I can't get into sports. Football takes forever. Like, way too long to play a football game. All that aside, and it was still just it was a crazy week because after all that, and like, okay, Monday, and I already said, I spent Monday morning watching Cloverfield Paradox, and then, you know, just normal dad stuff. And that's basically when I got like what little bit of preparedness for the show this week. That was the only time I had. And it's still, you know, still got all my normal, like, hey, I got dishes to do and laundry to do. And Monday is normally my laundry day. And it's like, okay, get all the laundry and all this crap done. And it's like, I don't have work. I can do all this stuff and get all this done. But it's just, yeah, so not much time to get show stuff done. I was like, housework has to come before podcasting work, unfortunately. And I'm like, what the hell kept me? And like, Tuesday, Bug had a doctor's appointment, which just screwed. Doctor's appointments are my arch enemy when it comes to our normal routine because we are so set in our routines and the boys go down at this time and we have a snack at this time and we do this and this and this and this in this order that if anything messes with that it's just going to screw me completely into the ground. It just messes our whole routine up. And a doctor's appointment, which is always a hazy time frame. You're like, yeah, we got a doctor's appointment at 9:30. You don't know if you're going to be out at 10 or 11 or maybe 12:30. You don't know. You really don't. How long am I going to be waiting? How long, like, after, like, oh, we're going to do height and weight, and you're going to sit there for 20 minutes. Like, just waiting. And in my case, I'm waiting with 2 rowdy toddlers, and I'm just like, It's like I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old here who do not want to be confined into a little room. In this case, it was actually his optometrist, and we were getting his eyes checked. And they were actually, I will say, going there, it's very nice because they're in and out very quick. Optometrists, in my experience, don't screw around. They don't leave you hanging like dentists and like your ear, nose, and throat, like your general family doctor, where you sit there for 30 minutes in a little waiting room. It's like you go into the optometrist, they're like, all right, do the little eye checky thing, you know, tell me the letters, do this. And then, all right. And they're really quick. And the turnaround in an optometrist is quick. I enjoy that. You don't spend a lot of time bullshitting. That being said, his optometrist is far. It's about a 40 minute drive out to that doctor because it's a specialist. And cause he's a little kid, he's 4 and it's like corrective stuff. So they've got to do he's got to go to a specialist. And so, yeah, it's quite a long drive to his optometrist. I swear, I'm going to say it cleanly one of these times, but it's a long drive. And so that's like, ugh. Early in the morning, getting all the boys all dressed and loaded up and all this stuff, and driving technically speaking, driving 2 towns away to go to his doctor. And it's like maybe a 30-minute appointment. But this appointment basically took like 3/4 of nap time out, going and coming back. I'm just like, and of course, the 2-year-old, he falls asleep on the way back. So I'm like, shit, stay asleep, go back to sleep, try and put him back down. No, he's not having that shit. He has zero interest in going to sleep. He's like, no, I slept the whole ride back. Power nap. And I'm just like, no, I need to sleep. I was like, I haven't gotten any work done for the show this week, but I'm going to. I was like, nope. I was like, nope, I'm going to be up and I'm going to throw a fit. I'm going to throw Elmo at you and I'm going to throw my cup at you. And every 5 minutes, I'm going to walk out of the bedroom. Theoretically, right now, he could be laying outside my door trying to get my attention. I'm hoping not. He's just not liked going down for nap time lately, or bed for that matter. It's become a fight with him. He's just in that stage. I hate that stage. Don't you, parents? That point where you got your like toddler in a toddler bed, and they're in a big kid bed now, and they just decide out of nowhere they don't want to take their nap. Like, hey, last week you were taking your nap fine. Yesterday I put you down. You're like, okay, Dad, I'll see you after nap time. Because it talks just like that. And he'll like, yeah, Dad, I'm gonna have a great nap. I'll see you later. No, and like yesterday, you're fine like that, and today you want to be a little shit, and you want to get up every 5 seconds, and it's like, hey, Dad, I need a cup of milk. Hey, Dad, the music stopped. Hey, Dad, Elmo. Hey, Dad, whatever. Hey, Dad, look, it's Emmett. Like, yes, I know it's Emmett. He's not supposed to be in your room. Why is Emmett in your room? And for those of you playing the home game that don't know, Emmett's the dog. Whatever. And he gets up a million times, and I'm just like, no, you sleep so I can sleep. If you don't sleep, I can't sleep. I have to sleep. I have work. Yeah. And I start getting grouchy. But incidentally, right now, I should be sleeping. I really should be. And, this is not normal day. This is not normal recording day. Normal recording day, tried to get shit done. Boys being rowdy. Had no prep, was not ready for the show at all. No way to get anything done. No sleep, trying to get things caught up. Go to work. Dying. Today, recorded the show. No sleep. Dying. So, it's gonna be an interesting night of work. Again. Hopefully I don't die. But it's, God, oof. I'm ready for a nap. I'm always ready for a nap. Really. And on top of all this, I can't even enjoy my coffee the way I normally do. Because we have a nagging suspicion that I might be lactose intolerant, which apparently is actually something that kind of grows on you as you get older. I didn't know this. But apparently, because, when you're born, you have to be able to drink milk because that's how babies are fed. But as you get older, especially if you have certain ethnic backgrounds, that you develop a lactose intolerance. Is basically like your tolerance for lactose just kind of diminishes as you get older. And so apparently when you get into your 30s, like I am, I just said out loud, I'm in my 30s. Saying I'm 33 doesn't seem to have the same impact as saying I'm in my 30s. Anyway. But once you get into your 30s like I am, then suddenly your body starts not liking that milk in your coffee or that grilled cheese sandwich or that extra cheese deep dish pizza as much as it used to. And you start having digestive troubles and things like that. And I'd been diagnosed previously. One of my doctors told me, it was years ago, said that I had a milk allergy. And I'm like, no, I don't. I was like, there is no, I was like, if I actually had a milk allergy, I'd be dead. I consume copious amounts of dairy every day because I drink 2 pots of coffee a day with milk. I can personally, I probably go through 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of milk myself every week. Not to mention, grilled cheese sandwiches and nacho nights and cheese on pasta and all that stuff too. So I consume so much dairy in a week. If I were actually allergic, I'd be dead. And I looked it up because it was like, what are the side effects or symptoms of dairy allergy? And it basically came down to, it's the same as any other food allergy. It's hives. It's anaphylaxis, which is when, throat closes up, all that shit. Rashes, trouble breathing, all the standard allergy symptoms you get with them if you have a milk allergy. I was like, all right, I have none of those symptoms. I have digestive discomfort. This, and I'm just going to leave that there. You can infer from that what you may. But yeah, I'm like, I don't have any of these symptoms. I was like, I think you just missed it somewhere. But yeah, as I've gotten older, it's really looking like I'm lactose intolerant. So we're testing out. Well, I'm on a lactose-free diet, which we've only just started in the last few days. And Rihanna's got me drinking that, have you seen this Fairlife? It's basically that milk where they've what do they say, ultra pasteurized or ultra filtered. So it was intended to be like low sugar. They're basically cutting the sugars out of the milk because ultimately they figured out sugar is what makes you fat, not calories. Cut back your sugar, cut back, and like you can consume fat all day long and your body will burn it and you're fine. Great. Sugar is bad for you, which sucks for me, but sugar is what makes you gain weight. So they're like, yeah, we felt like they have their special magic that they do to it that removes half the sugar and I guess in the process it's now lactose free and like half the sugar of regular milk, but it's still regular milk. It's not like soy milk or almond milk or anything like that that's loaded full of chemicals and isn't really milk. This is really milk. Because I hate soy milk and I hate non-dairy stuff. It just tastes nasty. But I've been using this and you're like, but this shit's expensive. And again, I go through like 1.5 gallons of milk a week. I'm like, I'm used to paying $2 a gallon for milk, not $5 for a half gallon. I don't, but I'm on this shit right now. And so we're experimenting with this and it's not terrible. I'm not going to sit there dipping Oreos in Fairlife. It's not good for that. It's not a good just sitting there drinking a glass of milk, which I could normally just drink a glass of milk and be, this is delicious. And I would do that at night. I'd come home from work and like just chug a big glass of milk and go to bed. Apparently I can't do that anymore, especially with the fucking cost of Fairlife. God, no. I was like, that's a $2 glass of milk you got sitting right there. It's now, but yeah, I've just been, I miss my milk. It's only been a few days. I miss my milk more because for the sheer fact that I had, because I drink so much coffee with just milk. I'm just a regular sugar and milk kind of person. I don't like all the non-dairy creamers and that shit tastes funny. I already said, but I'm not a big fan of all those things. So like for me, the amount of milk that I go through and my brain is trying to reconcile. I drink a lot of milk and again, like when I got, like my wife got me a fucking thing of triple ginger snaps, which I just recently finished, for my birthday, which yes, it took me like a month and a half to finish a tub of cookies because that's a lot of cookies and it takes a lot of milk. But I'm not but I can sit there and just cup of milk and scarfing cookies or what, and I cannot justify doing that with $5 or $10 a gallon milk. I just can't. I'm like, I'm going to have to cut back on I was like, I have to cut back on my coffee and cut back on all these things just so I don't use the milk. When milk is just right there. It's right there. I could have it. It's right there. I could drink it. And it's probably going to hurt my stomach. So I think I'm getting an understanding of how my wife is with gluten stuff right now. I was like, there's bread. I could have the bread. It's delicious bread. Fresh, hot bread. But it'll hurt tomorrow. It's like, we get pizza and she loves pizza and she will scarf the pizza, and tomorrow she will regret the pizza. And of course, you can't have pizza without breadsticks or pastas. Oh, like, wait, so much pasta, so many, like, it's, I'm trying to cut gluten out of, like, I've been on the hunt, like, for getting gluten-free pot pies and gluten-free chicken nuggets and all these things for her. Just non-gluten-y things. And it's like, cutting gluten is a bitch. Cutting dairy is easier. Cutting lactose out of stuff is easier. But I'm getting that little small taste of the thing I consume the most. My body doesn't like it, and now I have to cut it out, and it sucks. It's not been fun. And again, it's only been a couple of days, but it's just, I want my milk. I want my milk, I want my cheese, and apparently, like, hard cheese, like cheddar cheese isn't really that bad, because it, like, the lactose basically, like, ferments off or whatever the fuck it does. It's not that bad, but, you know, still gotta cut back on all that stuff. No sitting there eating a block of cheese or whatever. But, yeah. Now I'm making myself sad over cheese. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. So I'm going to take a quick Potter and Family promo break, and I will be right back.
You ready to jump?
I don't know. Jump where?
You know, all up in that pod stuff.
Wait, what's a pod stuff?
The Pod Stuff is a weekly podcast hosted by Perry and Lindsay Johnson.
Oh, those ones that host Hello Like WTF?
That's the ones. Pod Stuff is defined as anything to do with podcasting.
So like podcasts?
Yes.
Interviewing podcasters?
Yes.
What about reviewing host services?
I would assume.
Industry professionals?
Mm-hmm.
Equipment?
Yep, for sure.
What about more than that?
Oh, hell yeah, there's a lot more than that.
So you're telling me listeners can tune in and hear not only interviews with their favorite podcasts, but they can also hear from podcast experts? Well, where do I pay for all this?
What I'm telling you is all of this is for the low, low price of nothing. Just subscribe and download our weekly show on Podbean or at iTunes, and you will be there.
But wait, what if I am a listener who wants to make a recommendation? Or maybe I'm a podcaster, or I'm a podcast expert, podcast service, or equipment provider. How do I get involved?
Well, it's as easy as following at the Pod Stuff on Twitter and sending a direct message. Or, if Twitter's not your game, you can join the group on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/thepodstuff, or you can email thepodstuff@gmail.com. The Podstuff exists to passionately promote you and things that you love.
Man, that sounds awesome.
So let me ask you again. Are you ready to jump?
I'm totally in. You think everyone else will be?
I don't know. Why don't we ask them? Hey, listeners.
Are you ready to jump? All up in that pod stuff?
Your guide to cinema etiquette for the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast. Tip 43.
When attending the cinema with your good friends or significant other, don't assume anyone else has any interest in what you have to say. So, always remember...
Whisper, fuckface. It's not rocket science. For more useful cinema etiquette, join Paul and Wayne on the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast and Podomatic on iTunes or your favorite podcast app.
This is Chris the Mole Man. You are listening to my next door neighbor, Odd Dad Out. Now get the off my lawn.
Okay, so normally I would be, cutting to the news and making fun of all that stuff, but I realized I rambled on and went on for a long time. And that whole first bulk of the show just ran a lot longer than normal. And so I'm thinking this week I'm going to forego the full news segment, and I can get to these stories later. Fortunately, most of these aren't time sensitive, And I'm going to, but I have to do the one that I can't skip it this week because this guy absolutely deserve it. I've got to do the Jackass of the week. High school senior arrested over animal abuse video. And now you see why I need to call this bastard out. Idiotic high school senior is now facing felony animal cruelty charges after a video was posted showing him throwing a crying kitten into a body of water. And I guess this came out of California, and this fucking guy. And you look at the guy, and they've got his mugshot posted and everything. Even look at you see the video, and I'll have the video in the show notes, which may very well be a little bit late, just because, but if you really want to see this asshole fucking chuck a kitten into a river or whatever the hell it is, fine. But yeah, that's basically what it is. You just see this guy, this fucking punk ass kid, and he looks like a bro. He looks like a fucking bro, just like jock dick mother want to punch him in the fucking throat. More on account of what he did and less about what he looks like. But he looks like the kind of asshole that would do something stupid like this. And him and his stupid fucking friend, whoever the fuck's holding the camera, and it's like they're trying to do Jackass or something. But he just like comes strolling up, wearing fucking yard gloves because, of course, a cat's gonna fucking scratch you, while holding this fucking little kitten who's screaming its head off because it's like not even just that he's like holding it by the scruff of its neck. He's sitting here like obviously hurting this cat the way it's screaming. And then you just see him like up and fucking chucks it and throws it as far as he can out into this river or lake or whatever the fuck it is. And just like, this motherfucker. Let's pull up the article. Apparently this guy just turned 18. So guess what? Adult animal cruelty charges, you dumb piece of shit. Yeah. Oh, well, it says an incident apparently occurred about a year ago. Video recently surfaced or resurfaced on the internet. Yeah. And you just, fuck, people. Yeah, they're saying the camera operator, will also likely face animal cruelty charges, and they're working to identify him. I'm at least going to say he didn't give up his friend. But yeah, that's fucked up. So it's saying because it happened over a year ago, they'll probably charge him as a minor because he did it as a minor. Either way, piece of shit. Piece of shit. What the fuck, man? I don't get why people do shit like that. In a very general way. You know, it's one thing to replicate Jackass and try and do stupid stunts because the fuck half of YouTube is that now. And you all know how I feel about YouTubers. But yeah, at what point do you think it's okay to fucking throw a cat in a river? And it's not even an adult cat, it's a kitten. So you really, I mean, regardless of whether the kitten made it back to shore safely, it's like you potentially just killed an animal for fun, for a stupid video. So fuck you guys. Because of the nature of the segment, I have no better way to describe these assholes other than just to call them both jackasses. So, since I've kind of skipped over the majority of the news segment this week, I'm going to roll straight through into the recommended listening with this week's featured podcast. I'm talking about the Karen and Ellen letters. And I'm doing things a little differently this time because this is the first time I'm covering a show that has ended. I mean, technically it's ended. It's going to continue on in kind of a different format, but basically for all intents and purposes, the Karen and Ellen letters as it exists is done within the 2 seasons that they've done. And this week they actually did they do a regular show, they do an after show. Last week was the final regular episode. This week, the final after show. And so that is it as far as that goes. Even with that, it's still, I think you need to check it out. I didn't catch on to this show until after between the first and second season. And I got hooked. And so I still think it's well worth checking out. But since the show is done and there were so many people that were so big of fans of so many people involved in the show, I decided to reach out to somebody. So I'm not going to be the one exclusively telling you about it. I'm also going to have a little bit coming from Chris from the More Gooder Than podcast to share what he feels about the Karen and Ellen letters. So let's get on with that and let you have a little taste of this thing called the Karen and Ellen letters.
It was the summer of 1987. The Simpsons made their first TV appearance, the stock market crashed, and, perhaps coincidentally, Prozac made its American debut. And meanwhile, in Oakland, California, 2 teenage girls were moving into their very first apartment.
July 1st, 1987. Dear Mark, when I signed the lease last week, I pointed out the burned-out light bulb in the refrigerator. You said if I replaced it myself, I could deduct the cost from my next month's rent along with any other small expenses that were your responsibility. So, I'm sending you this list of things I plan will deduct from my August rent. List number 1. 1. Refrigerator light bulb, $2. 2. Oven light bulb, $2. 3. Shed padlock, $8. 4. Telephone installation, $37. 5. Telephone, $36. 6. Telephone extension cord, $9. 7. Hangers for closets in bedrooms, $12. 8. Extra front door keys, you okayed, $6. 9. Fish food, $10. 10. Algicide, $5. 11. Garden tools, $16. 12. Ice tray for freezer, $2. 13. Cleaning stuff, $46. Karen.
In 2005, I received a strange yet life-changing birthday present. A file folder full of photocopied, handwritten letters between 2 tenants and their landlord. I looked at the woman who handed me the present, a bit bewildered. She merely smiled and said, "Trust me, you'll love it." Little did I know then that this folder would lead to hours upon hours of hysterical laughter, and then a successful blog, followed by a live performance, and an odd 7-year journey to validate the authenticity of those letters. And now, 12 years later, a podcast. This is the Karen and Ellen Letters, a podcast that will make you appreciate the stupid people in your life.
So that is just a bit from basically the opening of the very first episode of Karen and Ellen. And when you listen to the whole thing, if you actually go back and binge the entire thing, you will see that sort of tone change in the show as it grows. But I don't want to be the only one telling you about this. So I'm going to throw this over to Chris from More Gooder Than for how he feels about the show.
It's Chris from the More Gooder Than podcast, and you want me to talk about the Karen and Ellen letters. Well, the podcast is pretty simple. They are a live reading of these letters from Karen and Ellen, among other people, but mostly they're from Karen and Ellen, to their landlord, Mark, and his responses. Josh Hallmark, the creator of the podcast, has assembled a fantastic band of voice actors that have just brought all of these letters to life. Every single one of the episodes is just laugh out loud funny. And then in the second season, they actually delve into the lore, there's actually ends up being a mystery surrounding the letters themselves. So you have season 1, which is just hilarious, and then season 2, which takes you on a journey. So the podcast grows and changes and evolves. It's fantastic, but it cannot be missed. It's very rare that something unique comes out in the podcasting world. So often it's a rehash of another idea, no matter how talented the people are. But Karen and Ellen letters are truly unique in the podcasting world. So you would be doing a disservice if anyone didn't listen to these.
So, yeah, he wrapped it up right there. I mean, I couldn't have described the show any better. It's, the acting, the cast of the show are amazing. And the way, there's, the show where they'll read the letters, and the first season focused exclusively on the letters. The second season was basically, as he kind of mentioned in the beginning, how the quest to validate the letters, because Josh had these letters for years, and he did a live stage show reading the letters, and there was a blog about the letters, and all these people and their suspicions and all these. Well, he eventually started trying to validate and say, hey, are these real or not? And started digging and digging and digging. And then, of course, after the first season of the podcast and it was starting to take off, the Sarah Stapleton, who voices Karen in the show, between them, they started digging, just kind of like, I wonder, just kind of wondering, are these people real? Trying to find them, trying to locate all of these people. And that basically was amounted to season 2. It's like they found a piece of information, and season 2 basically amounts to their investigation into Karen and Ellen and the letters and trying to track them down and chasing leads, and it's a very different, whereas the first season is basically reading the letters, commenting on the letters. And again, and so there's the main show, and you'll have like episode 1, and you've got the letters. And then you get like 1B, basically, that is an after show where Josh and some guests would come on and do kind of commentary, chatting about it. And they eventually introduced a drinking game. It was like, oh, we're going to pick a word, and every time they say this word in one of the letters, we're going to take a drink. They would get very silly. But yeah, it's just a fun show. But the switch from season 1 to season 2, it's quite distinct. And Josh even said multiple times in some of the commentaries in season 2, they lost a lot of listeners in season 2 because of that switch. And I've heard a lot of people that have said, and even they've commented, that they found it better to binge the entirety of season 2, because the way season 2 is formatted and the way they're kind of slowly feeding you information as they're investigating the letters, waiting a week to find out, well, in this case, kind of because you've got main show, after show, waiting 2 weeks to find out more little bits of information gets quite nerve-wracking. So they find it's a lot easier to binge. And at this point, you can binge the entire thing. And the way it's been thrown together, it's wonderful. And I'm going to say, I was introduced to this show, like so many things, by Emily from The Story Behind. She introduced me to the show, and she's like, hey, if you should check this out. It's hilarious. You just, there's no words for it. You just have to listen to it. And I listened to one episode, got hooked, binged the entire first season, and here we are. And I intended to feature this show for a while now, but trying to find the way to kind of work it in and things like that. I was like, it never really fit. And I was like, comes up to, it's the finale. They've disclosed everything. They're going to change up the show. It's like, so shit. Okay. Well, I got to do it now. If I do it any other time, it's not going to make sense. So it's kind of an honor to this great show coming to an end, or coming to a close of this storyline, at least. This story of Karen and Ellen coming to a close. I felt it was most fitting to cover it this week. Listening to the show as it's kind of grown, and as the characters grew, and as the actors kind of grew into the characters so much, because, I mean, naturally, as they're playing a part in the beginning of season 1, and as they grow, and as by the end of season 1, they're very much in tune with the character. And you get into season 2, and they're voicing, like, not to throw too many spoilers, but as they're trying to investigate different people, it's like, is this Karen? Have we found Karen? Have we found Ellen? Have we found, Karen's boyfriend, Rob? Have we found, who are they? And so the actors are now not just playing the Karen and Ellen and Rob and Mark and everybody from the first season that they just knew through the letters and that interpretation of the characters. They're having to play, potential Karens and Ellens. And like, is this Karen? Well, and they would read like letters or Facebook posts or blog posts or things from this Karen, or maybe it's that Karen, or is this Ellen? Is this Ellen the right Ellen, or is it that Ellen? Who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And so they're having to play different versions of the same character and that really goes to just the talent of the actors and involved in it. They did such a great job. And it was funny. And it's funny when you hear the difference between the actors' normal voices and they're playing the characters. It's really funny. But I will say I was along with those people at the beginning of season 2 where I was like, I don't know about this. It's really different, but I did get invested in kind of I want to know. I want to know how it's going to, I have to, it's like the Truman Show. How is it going to end? That's what I wanted to know. And so, yeah, I had to know how's it going to end. So it's kind of funny, but I think the ending, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but they come clean with everything they know, and they figure out, everything, and they've tracked down people, and they know who people are and how the letters came to be, essentially. And they kind of, Josh and Sarah come clean with basically everything they've found and their kind of final conclusion. But the way they wrap it all up, the ending of the series was perfect. There's no better way, I think, of doing it. It's just, yeah, it was the perfect close to that whole story. And it's grown from just, reading these silly letters about these two dumb girls and their landlord, to making them people, and to really, it went from just a silly thing to almost like an investigative journalism thing for season 2, which again, may have turned people off. But again, I still say if you did listen to season 1 and you switched off for season 2, it's worth it to go back and binge the show. And I will say sometimes the after shows are worth listening to. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not so thrilled with the after shows. And that's just me. And I know, because sometimes they get way off. And for me, it's like my personal taste. If you're going to talk about the thing, talk about the thing. And to a certain degree, some side tangents. And I'm the pot calling kettle black, talking about tangents. But sometimes they get on, especially in season 1, they'd get on these tangents that would just take you down a rabbit hole of, what were we talking about again? Almost like shut up a second level of tangent, to where, you just get completely derailed from even anything remotely related to the show. And those kind of annoyed me. But at the same time, you can thoroughly enjoy the show by not listening to the after shows. That's perfectly fine. Some people don't like that sort of style of show anyway. But you can listen to the after shows. You can listen to just the letters, or any combination thereof. But either way, I think the after shows in season 2 are much better, because it's so much more. It's the investigation, and it's discussing the investigation. So it's really, I think in that respect, season 1 the letters are more important. Season 2, I think the after shows are more important in season 2, because you're going to get all the information from the Rain episodes anyway. So the after shows are more important in season 2, because it's other people discussing what has played out and discussing the investigation, essentially. So I think that's the big switch in season 2. But again, it's not over, but that story has come to a close. The story, the saga of Karen and Ellen as it stands, has come to a close. So I suggest you go out, go to KarenandEllen.com, or even better, search them out on Facebook, because that's where all the activity is with the Karen and Ellen Roomies group, with all of the fans that are in there. And it's a very active group. Let's just say that. But yeah, check them out. Check out the Karen and Ellen letters. I really felt like I wanted to devote a little more time to this show because it came to an end. It basically, because this story is over, and I wanted to kind of put a little more to it. I reached out to a lot more people. I was hoping to get a lot more people to kind of share their thoughts, but I was unable to, hear back from them in time, which sucks, because there's so many people I really wanted to hear from. It was that it was like, you guys were on the show, kind of like reaching out to a celebrity. It was the closest I've ever gotten to reaching out to a celebrity to do something for the show. And again, thank you very much to Chris Brayton from More Gooder Than for actually contributing to the show and getting back to me, because it's really awesome. Again, he has been on one of the after shows and discussing the show before. He's been on a few times. I think he's actually done some voices for the show too. And so I'm really glad he got back to me with that clip. But yeah, I just kind of felt like with the show ending, I wanted to put a little more into it rather than me rambling on, which of course I did, but I wanted to give it a little bit more, and you probably noticed that was probably the longest, one of, if not the longest clip I've ever played of a show. And because it's like, you got to get the full feeling of it. And that was probably the best way to get the feeling of what is it? And I mean, granted, you listen to the whole thing and it'd be great. I wanted to play some of they did kind of an intro teaser thing for the show in the very beginning, but it was 7 minutes long. I was like, I'm not going to play an entire thing, but I wanted to give you a good taste of what the show is, and Josh's description of what the show is, and Chris's description of the show and how he feels about it, because it was very different. And it's like Chris said, it's a very unique thing. It's very different from everything else that's out there. This show is in itself, it's an amalgamation of different types of things, because I've got the review thing. I've got the weird news thing. I've got the rambling idiot thing, because that's me. And this show is an amalgamation of a lot of things that exist out there. Karen and Ellen is wholly unique in the uncertainty of its authenticity. You were never quite sure, is this real or fake? Are these people real? Or is this all made up? Who made it up? Is Josh making all this up? Is this all just bullshit? Or did somebody else make this up? Are the letters real at all? Did these people ever exist? And I mean, those questions are asked from the very beginning. But, and then again in season 2, they get much deeper into answering questions. But that whole thing and the nature of, it's these letters to these girls, to their landlord, and the landlord snark back to them, and all the back and forth, and all the stories and the news clippings and all this sort of things. And so it is a unique show. And I'm curious to see, because he said he's kind of creating a new fictionalized story you could say, in the Karen and Ellen universe. And they actually have kind of a spin-off that they do between seasons called the Beth Chronicles, where they've got the wholly fictionalized character of Beth and her interactions with Karen and Ellen and all this stuff. And so that was fun. I loved the Beth Chronicles. That's another great reason to subscribe, which I hadn't mentioned up until now, but yeah, I loved the Beth Chronicles. It was just so fun. I wish they could I think they should do that. Spin the Beth Chronicles off full time, do a full long ass season of Beth Chronicles. Go for it, Josh. He's not listening. Anyway, maybe he is, because I mean, I've been saying for a couple of weeks that I was going to do this. And so I think he's aware, but I think I've rambled on enough. Again, check out Karen and Ellen letters at KarenandEllen.com, or again, find them on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Karen and Ellen letters. Check out the Roomies group if you really get into the show. This show's a lot of fun. But you can catch all of my stuff and all of my past episodes at odddadout.blogspot.com. You can find my full recommended listening list, the ever-expanding column that it is. And don't forget to click the little subscribe button right there at the top, whether using Apple Podcast, Google Play, or whatever app you choose. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get the show every week without fail, whether I'm on time or not. And if you want to reach out to me, you can always find me on Facebook or Twitter, and now Instagram, which I'm still figuring out, at OddDadOut. Drop me a line, let me know what you think. And until next time, I am still Adam Higgins, the Odd Dad Out. Thank you and good night.